Professor Opatha, Chair the session, Dean of the Faculty and Head of the Department, Management and Finance, presenters and participants. My research topic is on impact of microcredit on the income level of small business entities. This is the sequence of the presentation: background the study, literature review, problem statement, research objectives, data analysis, findings, conclusion and recommendations. Background of the study. In Sri Lanka, poverty is one of the major economic problems. According to Muhammad Yunus, poor people are not just because they are poor, not just because of they are illiterate, unskilled or untrained, but because they cannot earn sufficient return on their labor. And according to him, creating opportunities and empowering poor people would be a better way of eradication of poverty from the country. So one of the major problems of Sri Lankan small businesses in Sri Lanka is not having timely and adequate credit at reasonable and affordable interest rates. So income level of small businesses could be dependent factor of effective use of funds obtained through microfinance programs. So literature review. So before I talk about microcredit, I have to introduce what is microfinance. Microfinance is the provision of broad range of financial services to low-income enterprises and households. So microcredit is one aspect of it. It refers to the provision of credit or loan services to low-income earners or clients. In relation to my study, in 2004, Ahmed and Navid has done a research and they found that there is a relationship between microfinance and income levels of poor households. So in that study, they have done a correlation test and showed that there is a positive relationship between microfinance with savings, farm expenses, crop productivity, and income and asset formation. McIsaac, in 1997, according to his study, the very small percentage of total borrowers are concerned about the sustainable development in their income, and large percentage of his sample have focused only the marginal gains. In 2002 Chavan, microcredit programs have made a positive impact, but the impact was minimal on the income and employment generation on borrowers. This is actually just because of they are more towards they are starting businesses just to get away from the unemployment, but not to have a development in their businesses. And Akram and Hussein, microcredit is efficiently serving the poor and small business by increasing the income level. There is another literature in 2011 from Jain and Tripathi and Paul and Gebru. Both of them, Jain and Tripathi, they found that there is a marginal improvement in beneficiaries' income, and lack of focus on the location and productive activities is one of the major problem of small businesses. And Paul and Genru, impact of microfinance in borrowers in the context of income level, assets holding, and gender empowerment and expenditure pattern of the borrowers. So problem statement: is there a positive impact of microcredit on the income level of small businesses? Research objectives: to identify the utilization of borrowed funds on the different business operations and activities, and to identify the return on investment of small businesses. Research design: the research approach is quantitative approach, and through a structured questionnaire and purposive sampling. For the sample, 150 respondents were there. The primary data gathered through structured questionnaire and secondary data was collected through publications. Data analysis and discussion. According to the data gathered, we can categorize the small businesses into these 6 categories: agricultural, animal husbandry, small businesses, trade and services, and fishing. According to the analysis, almost most of the businesses are towards the agricultural sector, and second is animal husbandry. Educational level of the owners of the businesses, the 39%, almost 50% of the owners are from up to the O level and ordinary level qualifications, and 39%, almost 40% of the respondents from primary education, and only 13% of the sample represents the A-level qualification, and none of them had first degree or postgraduate or any other qualifications. The problems in using the loan, 65% of the sample responded that they don't have any considerable problems other than high interest rates. Actually, 19% of the sample responded that the high interest rate is one of the major problems. But still, 65% of the sample responded that they don't have any considerable issue in using the loan. This is actually through the study I have identified they responded that just because of their educational level. And the use of loan on a planned activity, 97% of the responded that they used their money on planned activity, and only 3% they didn't use. But when it comes to planned activity, I found that plan means they borrow that fund on a predefined or predetermined activity. It doesn't mean that they utilize fund on a productive activity. Only for they borrow that fund only for a specific purpose, not on a productive activity or the investment. The repayment period, 98% of the respondents have to pay that loan within 1 to 3 years. Because of that industry, the financial institution does not like to give loans to these institutes, these small businesses, for more than 3 years. Only 1.3% have more than 3 years of repayment period. And almost 1% have to pay within 1 year. The loan usage, other than animal husbandry, it means the business entities who are dealing with animal husbandry, they use that money for animal husbandry. But 48%, 50% of the sample have used their money, their loan, for other expenses of the business. That means they borrow that fund for specific activity, not for the actual investment, but for to purchase some asset or for some expenses. And only 28% of the sample have used to purchase assets for the business. For example, for trading and services or agriculture, they use that money to purchase some assets for the business. Then impact on the business due to credit, that is for the profit aspect. 72% responded that they have increase in profit. That means they have increased in income, so that ultimately they have increased their profits also. Decrease in expenses compared to income. They said that according to their responses, they have decrease in expenses just because they have utilized some that money for assets, to purchase some assets. So just because of that, they have decrease in expenses, but not increase in income. That is the stable as it is. Then decrease in profit due to high expenses. Most of these businesses have obtained most of these funds to start up their businesses. So because of that, they have high initial expenses, high initial investments. So because of that, they can't utilize these funds to productive activities. So because of that, they don't have increased profits. And 10% of the sample responded they have losses, and mainly for environmental and economic conditions. The net income, according to the responses, 55% of the sample is within the range of 5,000 to 20,000 rupees is the profit, according to the information gathered. And there are only 1% from more than 100,000. And 2% represent the losses. So further I have the test some correlations between some aspects only. So in that sense I got there's a positive correlation between loan usage and income. If they have used it for the productive activities, they have increase in income. And planned activity and net income. Those who have use their money at least for some planned activity, their profit level is marginally increased. And income and educational level of the owner. Those who are from with some educational background, they have utilized their funds for some good activities, so there is a positive correlation. And there is a negative correlation between loan usage and asset purchase. The findings and conclusion, the study identified that there is a positive impact on the income of the small business entities. Actually from the study, I have identified that the impact is positive, but it is very minimal. Positive, but it is not not large in sense. And the positive impact of the income level is largely backed by the utilization of funds in productive activities. So those who have utilized these funds for productive activities, so on investments, they have increased in income. So but people who have used these funds to other miscellaneous activities or for other expenses of the business, they don't have the expected the profit or expected income. And the education of the own is a dependent factor of effective utilization of funds. The people, most of them are from primary education, and on that sense also some of them are from the maximum educational level is grade to according to the income levels and the profits. If they have utilized it effectively, so they have to have increased profits and increased income, net income.
Okay, then you have perform a correlation analysis. Then what was the independent variable and what was the dependent variable?
So independent variable is the income. The dependent variable is income. Independent variable is what are the activities that they invest their money and how they use it.
What is the analytical tool you use for that to run the correlation analysis?
So I have used actually my data is nominal data. Then I have used some through SPSS. I have done correlation analysis.
The correlation is that Pearson or any other correlation?
Pearson.
If it is a nominal, Pearson correlation cannot be adopted.
Yes, sir.
To run a correlation analysis, your level of measurement should be at least interval or ratio. If it is nominal, chi-square can be carried out. However, you have not mentioned what the type of analytical tool you have applied, but better to mention it also. The analytical tool you use for measuring the correlation between your independent variable and dependent variable. If your level of measurements are nominal, remember, if your level of measurements are nominal, either independent variable or dependent variable, correlation or Pearson correlation cannot be applied since it is a parametric statistic. To measure the correlation between two variables measured through the nominal variable, that should be chi-square. C value should be calculated. Better to remember them to improve your research paper, right? Thank you. However, your effort is highly appreciated.
Yes, same thing relevant to what Professor Neville said. Mention the levels of measurement, whether it is nominal, whether it is ordinal, or whether it is interval, or whether it is ratio. Basically, we have 4 levels of measurement. So, because the levels of measurement will determine the techniques that you can use for your data analysis. So, I don't know about the validity and reliability of the instruments. You have not mentioned anything. But anyhow, I really appreciate what you have done. And then assume I am a policy maker in the government. So what implications or suggestions can you briefly give?
Actually, sir, for the implications, one of the major concern in this study is these borrowers are saying that they don't have the adequate funds, and the repayment period is very much low, 1 to 3 years, something like that. So what they want the more money, more loans at reasonable rates, and with the repayment period should be increased. But during my study, when I asked from that microfinance, the companies and some banks, they said due to the risk that they don't know what will happen to this money and how they utilize those funds. So they don't like to increase it, but actually as a policymaker, if we can increase the money that we are giving as microcredit to microfinance programs and a microfinance program, it will be better, but the repayment period should be increased, because that they have to use that entire the income to repay their loans with interest. The interest amount is very much high compared to their income.
One thing I want to elaborate. I want you to elaborate. So, what is you have mentioned something from the literature. Lack of focus on the location-specific product activities. Location-specific product activities. In fact, for my clarification.
Location-specific productive activities means sometimes that the most of these people are from rural areas. They have to move to those places, they are not familiar with these areas and their environment. So they are telling that sometimes they have to the urban area, they have to hire a place, they have to pay rent. So those expenses are very much high, and they are not familiar with the environment. So if they can do their businesses where they are, then it will be better for them.
Okay, then no. It seems that there are no more questions. Okay, then thank you, Miss, and we wish you all the best.